You're watching Sound Off Sports.
Welcome back to SOS. We have in the house, in the studio, the all-time leading rusher for the Rams. Yes, it's Steven Jackson, also born and bred Las Vegan guy. Steven, it's great to be with you.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see you.
You look like you could play right now, dude.
I'm trying to keep it that way, you know. I don't know if I could go for 4 quarters, but at least I can get you to halftime.
I think, hey, a lot of rosters would like to have you. Let's talk about this. When you started in the league, right, I mean, the way the league has shifted, running backs were a premium when you were playing. To have a guy like Steven Jackson on your roster, it was a big deal. Today we're seeing how the league has shifted, but I think when you get back to playoff time football, we see teams with really good rushing games succeeding in the playoffs. Tell us about how you think the evolution of the running back position has really shifted over these recent years.
I think you're right. You know, towards the early 2000s, the shift started to happen then, where a lot of teams went from one premier guy to more having running back by committee. And because of the length of the seasons and the shortness of the position, most teams went to have the insurance route, right? Rather have 2 or 3 guys rather than just one main guy. And that's really diluted the market for the running back position. But you're right. Then when you get to January and February, it brings it back into focus. So teams got to be really balanced in their approach about what kind of guy they want to bring in. You know, for instance, Detroit Lions took a running back with the 12th pick overall last year,
right,
and it's really worked out for them. Where others look to have that, that luxury guy like Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City. So it depends on philosophy, how you look about it. I look at things. But when you get to January and February, when the games are cold, most defensive backs, most defenses don't want to tackle for 4 quarters. And you see that every week.
Hey, the Eagles didn't want to tackle for 1 quarter. Let's talk about this. When you look at an Isaiah Pacheco, first of all, he runs weird. What is that? What is his gait, the way that he runs?
He has a gait that looks like get out the way.
There's something strange with that. Yeah. But when you watch Isaiah Pacheco, when you watch Jahmyr Gibbs, or a Bijan Robinson, who was drafted early as well, do you watch them and you're like, oh, Pacheco is a dime a dozen, but Jahmyr Gibbs, Robinson, they have something special? Or is Pacheco cut from the same cloth, you really think?
I think they're actually all 3 different kind of backs, to be honest with you. I think they're all outstanding and they have their strengths. Isaiah is perfect for weather. Long-term, long-haul kind of, playoff kind of run where you can ride Patrick through the whole season, but once you get to the playoff games, you have this big back that can wear down a defense. Where you go to Atlanta or you go to Detroit, these are guys that are more used at like receivers out of the backfield, put them in open space, they're going to make guys embarrassed. It all depends, again, the approach of the offensive coordinator and the team, the identity of what they want to have. Most teams are looking for someone that's going to just set the tempo and show the other defense that we're not here to play.
I got you. Yeah. Now, you've had, some playoff experience. You entered the league in 2004. That's when you were a rookie. Yeah. That first season, Marshall Faulk's on the team. You became the head back in the next season in 2005. But that first year, your rookie year, you lost in the divisional round to the Falcons. And then in 2015, years later, with the Patriots and Belichick and Brady, you actually scored in that game against the Broncos. You guys ultimately lost. Broncos went on to beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. Tell us what makes playoff football different? What makes a team succeed in the playoffs, and why are we seeing so many teams that, flounder? I thought the Bills were going to be a Super Bowl team. Yeah. What is the makeup, what is the DNA you need to succeed in the playoffs?
You're absolutely right. So my first year, I went to the playoffs, took it for granted. I was a backup, thought this would always happen, right? I'm looking at my teammates being Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce.
Yeah.
We'll be back again, right? We just come up short in divisional. That didn't happen for me until my 12th and final season. And looking for a ring, I would go into New England and, go and make it to the AFC Championship, right, to your experience there. I think a lot of teams are not prepared in the sense of the magnitude of this is a 1-game season, right? So a lot of pressure, people handle pressure differently, not only players but coaches as well. So schematically, how you call things, everyone knows what you like to do. The windows of opportunity become a lot tighter because the other team actually know their assignments and they do it really well and really fast. So playoff football has the opportunity that's only there for a split second. If you're not executing at the same level all the time with the rest of your teammates, it shows vulnerabilities, and that's kind of why you see a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. they deal with the pressure really well because they trust and know that they're coached well and they can handle the pressure because it's just routine for them at this point.
And they've been there, and that's why I think a lot of people are scared with Lamar. You know, he hasn't shown up maybe in those huge moments. He's looking good now, but Mahomes, 6 years in a row, he's in that, you know, conference championship game. It's a big deal to think about that. But you were drafted 24th overall, first-round pick, you know, Oregon State. You grew up in Vegas. You were doing track. You're doing football. You go to the state championship game in your high school year. I mean, it's incredible the year and the career you had as an NFL running back. 12 seasons taking all that punishment. I think you had about 78 TDs, just under 12,000 rushing yards, but you're the all-time leading rusher in Rams history. When you think about guys like Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, what are some of the things you took from Marshall Faulk when you were a rookie? Were you one of those guys who was open and a sponge and took all that information in? Because a lot of young guys might not be amenable to that kind of advice. So how did Marshall impact your career early on, and what did you take with you throughout the rest of your career?
I was very fortunate to get drafted by a team like St. Louis at the time, the Rams. And for instance, what I mean, not only did I get to have a chance to watch Marshall up close and personal, seeing the way he prepared himself week in and week out, but I also had a chance to have teammates like, you know, Orlando Pace and all these other guys that would go on to be in Hall of Fame. So not only could I just look at the projection through one guy, I saw it through multiple lenses of other guys that have done it at a high level for a long time. So one, I learned preparation. The second thing Marshall kind of challenged me in indirectly, but learning how to run routes out of the backfield. He was such a weapon out of the backfield that he really perfected how to be a receiver in the running back position. You know, giving Coach Mark Martz at the time 5 and 6 receivers on the field, right? So you could really open up the field against the defense. So I really learned to be, you know, be more cognizant in the pass game. Really run routes, how to, you know, manipulate the defense, how to throw a linebacker off each one-on-one with me. So that's really what I took from being an understudy of Marshall.
And how much of success in the NFL and the league is dictated upon situation? You know, Arthur Smith is using Cordero Patterson more than he's using Bijan Robinson. He's using, you know, Algier more than he's using. So when somebody like that has all that promise and he's got that youthful energy, he's a rookie, he's ready to take the punishment. What advice do you give to a guy like that when, you know, Arthur Smith's out the door now, but how do you succeed when maybe other circumstances are not putting you in a position to succeed?
Yeah, I would say always look at your measurables, right? So, for instance, a guy that's like a Bijan, what does he not do well? Or what is he not doing good as what he could be doing in other aspects of the game? Could it be pass protection, right? So when you have these situations where you're influx and the team's looking for identity, you really look inward to see how can I make myself better as the team figures it out, the general manager and the president as they figure this out. So if I'm not protecting the quarterback well, I won't be on the field for three or four downs. Well, that limits my opportunities, right? So you look at those opportunities where you could get better. Or maybe you just run between the tackles a little better than you do on the outside or vice versa. So you look for those weaknesses in your game so you could take the focus off what you can't control.
And that's why I'm strong, I'm gung-ho on the Lions, because you see how Jahmyr Gibbs pass protects well. You see even how their wide receivers, I mean, Amon-Ra is throwing huge blocks, and Josh Reynolds. So I like how everybody comes to play in those aspects. A couple last questions. One, Belichick, you played with him in New England. What was he like as a coach?
I loved him. I'm a huge Belichick fan, and the reason being is because I like old school coaches that's tough, right? They treat everyone the same, from the quarterback to the last guy on the roster. If there's a mistake you made, he wants to put it up in front of the team and corrects you in front of it. He treats us all the same. We're not treated with white gloves, everyone, right? I respect a coach like that, and one would go behind your back and say something differently than he would say to you. Or
you had, Mike Martz, Scott Linehan, Jim Haslett, Steve Spagnuolo, who's, defensive coordinator with the Chiefs, Jeff Fisher. So many different coaches, Mike Smith in Atlanta. What was it about Belichick that made him different? What's the secret sauce? If you're trying, 12 different, fettuccine Alfredos, what's the reason this fettuccine Alfredo is that good?
That Alfredo is tried and true. But honestly, though, it goes back to just being able to speak to experience, being able to deliver in a way that's coachable, to stick with one, but also knowing that he's not treating me any different than he would treat anyone else.
So one follow-up. If he is the best coach of all time, which I believe so, why are NFL organizations that have a vacancy at the head coach position not pouncing on the opportunity to hire Bill Belichick right now?
because just because you're a great coach doesn't mean that lasts into every era, right? And that's my humble opinion. The new athlete, the new football player that's going into the NFL right now requires a different kind of approach. How you coach them, how you relate to them, how you talk to them. I think that approach is new and fresh and needs to be different. I think that's why you see a lot of head coaches are now in their mid-30s, early 40s, because ownerships are realizing that we need a new kind of leadership that will lead this new group of guys.
Okay, last question. We got championship weekend this weekend. Who are your picks for the Super Bowl? Who are you taking?
So I'm wearing purple because I believe in Lamar.
There you go.
I believe Lamar at home will answer the challenge. Patrick Mahomes has had a great run, 6 straight AFC championships, and all the things he's accomplished so far. He's a great quarterback. I just think this year, the Baltimore Ravens, Coach Harbaugh, I think they're on a roll. I think they're going to be really, really tough to beat, especially at home. Then on the other side of things, I have to say I'm soft-hearted for the Detroit Lions for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Jared Goff won.
Yeah.
The general manager Brad Holmes coming from the Rams background as well there. So I believe he's built that team up in a way that's very reminiscent of how we like to approach the game.
Yeah.
Tough and hard-nosed. And I think if any team that could bloody up San Francisco knows, it would be the Detroit Lions. So my pick there is going with my heart more than anything. So I have the Lions coming out of that and going against Baltimore.
All right, Lions and Ravens in the Super Bowl. The great Steven Jackson, all-time leading rusher for the Rams, 3-time Pro Bowler. We love you, man. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.